We mad at us. Iris has done an outstanding job. 10 years experience. Harris, I know y'all know what you lost right there because we recognized it when she left. But we were able to hire her back and brought those 10 years experience back in our interstate. She works very closely with Tamika now. We're excited to have you back with us. Thank you. I don't know if you'll recognize this young lady I'm going to ask to stand up next, Miss Kim Hobbs. Well, you may have, because I have never seen her without that computer.
I got it.
She will not even come to a meeting without her computer. What dedication. Long-term employee, has spent most of her time in GCIC operations, terminal operations. She is now our new team lead for all terminal operators, as well as our GCIC operations. So we're excited for you. Thank you. Well deserved. Well deserved. And then I want to also recognize our two new senior DOMs. This created an opportunity, as you well know, when our district operations managers positions, very similar to hearing examiner positions, it requires a very well-studied, well-versed individual to fill those roles. They are your eyes and ears. They are who bring you the information that allows you to make those critical decisions and make them well. So we're very selective about who we place in those positions, and we screen them very heavily to make those appointments. One of the things about that position, as it was said, was there really was nothing after that. There was really no leadership developmental opportunity other than leaving our agency after that. So we have created two new senior DOMs, Alan and it's good to see you. He's so awkward in these moments right here. So I'm dragging this out. Joe, you stand up with him. I want to recognize both Alan and Joe. Alan, go ahead. Go ahead. Alan, former chief out at the Marietta office. Dom as well, long-term employee, as well as Joe. Many years in the field. Also a field operations officer when we called them FOOs at that time. And then worked many years in Interstate Compact. Those two guys now are your new leadership as far as our district operations managers, and we expect big things out of them as well. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for that. Again, I mentioned Miss Iris McKinnon over here. In fact, she did not hesitate when we called her, because we clearly recognized with all this new leadership and team leads that we had to prepare them. They were prepared for doing their day-to-day operations, but now in leadership and supervisory roles, we've had several people step up. They've now been enrolled in PMF training, performance management, form and management of those training, as well as managing timesheets and leave, which is very important. We'll talk about Bubba's timesheet later, but anyway, but they're all enrolled in that, as well as we're working with Chris Kemner on basic management training classes and getting them well on their way in that. Lastly, I want to recognize, and Scott mentioned it before, but Brian Morgan. He could not be here today. He had a couple of things that he needed to be working on, and he's working on them. But he recently completed post-I as well, post-IT use of force training as an instructor. And then lastly, Thomas Green. Make your way up here, young man. Thomas Green recently completed post-instructors training for also firearms, as well as the top gun in that class, which you know that is very, very competitive in that particular training. And he was also recently appointed as the parole commissioner for GPACs. And he has a couple of comments he wants to make to the board, as well as the rest of us, about what's going on in GPACs. If there are no questions, I'm going to turn it over to him, and he will close out our presentation. Thank you, sir. Remember what we talked about?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Board. I'm going to try to be brief. I know your time is very valuable. Like I said, Rick stated, I am the 2018 GPACs representative for Parole Board. Also on the board, first Vice President is Brian Morgan, and second Vice President is Deputy Director Felicia Holloway. So Parole is very well represented in the 2018 GPACs Board. Right now, we're in a huge push for membership. If you join up before December 31st, the membership is $25. After January 1st, it increases to $35. So we're hoping to try to get a lot of people to join so we can get a better estimate on how many members we're going to have moving forward in 2018. We have quite a bit of a lofty goal in 2018. We're shooting for about 1,000 members. We had about 500 to 600 initially. I think last year they had close to about 800. So even though 1,000 members looks like a lot, I think it is something that's very obtainable, and support from everybody in here will help us achieve that goal. The first event that we have coming up is the 2018 Winter Conference. It's up in Brasstown Valley Resort in Young Harris. The conference is going to be March 7th through the 9th. You do have to be a member to attend. Obviously, all the conferences focus in on training and building relationships with our other partners, DCS, misdemeanor oversight, and just other community partners. We're going to cover a wide range of topics because training is a big goal of each conference. I would like to thank Executive Director Barnett. I'm not sure if he knows it, but he's about to find out that he has volunteered to take out a full 2-page ad in the program for the 2018 conference program, and I don't want any of the other executive management to feel like you got left out, so I have your packets filled out. If you'll see me afterwards, you can just write the checks and I'll make sure those get taken to the meeting next week. But seriously, I do like to thank the board and yourself for your continued support of GPACs and everything that y'all allow us to do on the board and for GPACs as a whole. Are there any questions from the board?
Yeah, I do. Thomas, thank you for that presentation. And actually, that $10 discount has really got me thinking I need to renew. So make sure that I get that in time, okay?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I will notate that. And just if you would like to join, just for everybody here, you can go to gpacs.com. It's all done for all the IT tech savvy folks. It's done on PayPal. I know Wes Mulder asked me to take a check to the next meeting, so that'll keep the treasurer happy making a trip to the bank to cash his check. But nonetheless, any way we can get membership up, that's our goal this year. So we thank the board for their support.
Thomas,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you, and I want to say congratulations for the Top Gun Award. That kind of got smoothed over a little bit. That's no small feat in itself.
Yes, sir. I was lucky enough for DCS to allow me to come down and take a spot from one of their officers. They allowed me to come in there, and so hats off to DCS for allowing me to take part in their firearms school. Thank you,
Well,
sir.
thank you. You represented us well. Thank you for what you do. And let me just take a moment here to say, I know Harris will recognize you earlier, but I want to recognize you again and just say that there's never a meeting that we have that when DCS is always present, and the board recognizes that, and we appreciate the partnership that we have. We know that the role that the Department of Community Supervision plays in the decisions that we make is so critical, that supervision piece. And I just want to say thank you for the partnership, and we want it to continue to be that way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Director Barnett.
Good morning, Chairman Mills and parole board. It's an awesome opportunity to speak to you today. I'm thankful for the opportunity. Director Robertson Shalandra couldn't be here today. She's actually at some training that we have in Forsyth, so it's my honor to present to you guys the survey results from this recent Victim Visitors Day in Cordele, Georgia. Of course, you guys will. Of course, this is intended to be a mini Victim Visitors Day in Cordele, Georgia, but I guess Cordele doesn't do many. That's right, Ms. Bond. So starting from the opening ceremonies to the speakers to just the attendance, it was an awesome event. To be specific, we had exactly 165 individuals coming to attend and 75 cases. Again, this is a mini Victim Visitors Day. Would put this Victim Visitors Day as the third largest of cases reviewed and the fifth largest of individuals attending. So of all the ones that we've done over the years since 2006, that makes a really big statement. To get into some of the results, we actually had people travel from pretty much all across Georgia and actually 3 different states. Specifically, we had 5 different families from Florida, 3 from South Carolina, and 1 from Tennessee, all traveled just to see you and other leadership from the Department of Corrections and the Department of Community Supervision to get answers to their questions and to tell you how they feel. So getting to more detailed information, more of the statistical information, kind of typical in some of the results we've seen in the past, the biggest crime type at the Victim Visitors Day was murder, followed by aggravated assault and burglary, first degree. Now, actually murder was approximately 44% of the cases. When we asked people how did they find out about this event, most of the information came out from actually our office, from sending out letters, notifications, invitations. We actually keep a database. Actually, one of our specialists is here today who created a spreadsheet of every person who's interested in hearing about every Victim Visitors Day. So it started off as a notebook, but the notebook got so big, we put it into a digital spreadsheet. So anytime someone says, hey, I love this, I want to come to every single one, we send them an invitation to every single Victim Visitors Day. And so as you see, 70% of the people who found out about it from us, and the rest were from the district attorney's office and media and friends and so forth and so on. When we asked them, was their time well spent, at least 87% said they strongly agree that their time was well spent. 13% said they agree. When asked how they rate our customer service level, we weren't perfect. We were pretty darn close, with 97% saying that they would agree, would rate customer service experience as above average or excellent. So we'll take that for this time. You know, we'll improve on the next one.
Isn't it typically that 3% wish that you had served food, and that's the reason you...
Almost every time. It's either that we serve food or the type of food that we serve. Have better food next time, have larger amounts of food, you know. and you'll see as we go into some of the more details, you know, there was a waiting period this time that people didn't really understand, you know, and so that may have affected some of it also. When we asked that the parole board, corrections, DCS employee I spoke with was knowledgeable. 88% strongly agreed that we were, that you guys were, and 92% strongly agreed that the parole board, corrections, DCS employee they spoke with was courteous. So that's always excellent. Again, you know, there's your 8% that you just can't keep happy regardless of what you're doing. So we're gonna ignore them for today's presentation. I was offered printed materials about the Georgia Office of Victim Services. 98% agreed. And before today, 83% were already registered with our office, which really says a lot that we're already working with these victims, and these are just people who wanted to have that one-on-one meeting with you guys to make sure you completely understood the impact the crimes or the offense had on them. Before today, have you had any direct contact with any parole board or corrections or DCS employee? 57% said yes. And when asked would they like to be contacted, again after this, 65% said yes. And so what we did, we made sure they provided their names and telephone numbers so we can follow up with them. Here's some really interesting information. And when we asked them about their wait time, at least 40% waited over 50 minutes before they saw anyone, the parole board, DCS, or Department of Corrections. But we attribute that to probably that next one, which says at least 50%, am I reading that number correctly? At least 30% spent over 50 minutes. 23% spent over 50 minutes. So if you look at it, a great majority of the people, 70% of respondents, spent 30 minutes or more in their meetings. So what that says is a lot of people waited, but that's because you guys took your time and listened to everything they had to say. I actually heard a board member say that they weren't leaving until they heard whatever that victim had to say. So people had to wait a little bit longer, but they also had as much time as they needed with you guys, which was, I think, a tribute to you. 98% said all of my questions were answered, and 100% said that they would recommend to other crime victims that they attend a Victim Visitors Day like this, which is excellent because obviously whenever you're dealing with any type of customer, your best resource, your best advertisement are the customers. And so this is telling us that other victims, other survivors want other people to come to this because they think they can benefit from it. So as part of the VOCA grant, the Victims of Crime Act grant that we started receiving this year, we're required to ask other questions in addition to our usual Victim Visitors Day questions, and this is a portion of some of those questions. Some of them didn't quite fit with the type of event, so we had to modify them a little bit to make them make sense. And getting immediate answers to my concerns after the registration helped me feel less anxious. So 53% strongly agreed with that. I now have a better understanding of my role in the post-conviction process. At least 75% strongly agreed with that. I now have a better understanding of my rights as a victim. 65% strongly agreed. If you look at it, that's at least 90% agreed or strongly agreed. Being able to provide information made me feel my input was important. Again, at least 96% agreed or strongly agreed to that. being up to date on the offender status helped me manage my safety, which is a really important one. 67% strongly agreed to that. I was notified of important information about my case. At least 55% strongly agreed to that. You know, and again, that although that number may seem low, that's at least 77% agreed or strongly agreed. I had the opportunity to provide my input before decisions were made in my case. Again, at least 88% agreed or strongly agreed. The agency representative that I spoke with knew how to handle a case like mine, and that's an awesome number. 95% agreed or strongly agreed to that. That they know that we know what we're doing. I was provided with appropriate referrals based on the needs we identified. Again, at least 55% strongly agreed. And then the agency took my culture, religion, and orientation into consideration providing services. We obviously, it doesn't matter to us, we serve victims and survivors. So we had all of them hit ENA for that one because that one didn't really apply to the type of work that we do. And some of the more, the questions that allow victims to really notate and describe something, so we just highlighted a couple. When asked, what did you like most about your experience today? Some of the highlighted texts were, everyone was very nice and caring. The DA here was very, very nice. He was very compassionate. Just a note about the DA, when he got there, he actually stayed, you know, our team left probably an hour or maybe 2 hours after everyone else left, but the DA only left maybe 30 minutes before us. And you saw him picking up trash and cleaning things and helping us, so it was an awesome experience and a real testament to his service to that community. I like that I was able to tell my side of the story the way that my crime affected me and my voice was heard. It gave me a forum to be heard in a way that files and paper can't communicate, and gave me a voice. One of the things that we always tell people about Victim Visitors Day is that it's one thing when they're reading documents, you know, when you guys have to read documents and you obviously have tons of information, but it's nothing like hearing from the survivor itself. Being able to meet with Mr. Boston, Steve Boston, I felt like I was connected to the system and being understood. I felt good that information in that file was important for the parole board to know. I felt that my input is going to potentially protect me a little longer. They're going to review the case further. He is a danger to the community. And of course, they like talking to the parole board member. I like being able to get a chance to talk to a board member and my voice concerns, like the way they were treated by victim services and able to meet other victims. More informed, the time people spent listening, I got the feeling that there are people who care what we think. Nice to have the interactions. They like the support and the security, and they was glad to finally feel heard, was happy that someone actually listened to her side and took the time to understand how it feels to be a victim. Everything was great, everyone was kind, and efficiently done. And then finally, the love that was shown and how they expressed their feelings toward the families. When asked how we can improve, you know, of course we had a number of people say there's no need for improvement, but we also had people talk about the way